Hey, fun fact, but I lived in the United States as a Canadian for a number of years. Oh, please don't hate me for that. And while I've talked about that before, the issues of healthcare, for example, this video is about racism. To say that I experienced culture shock as a white boy from a small city in Ontario, Canada, transplanted into the US is the understatement of the century. I mean, there was only 2 black families that I knew of in my hometown in Canada, and then I find myself in southern Florida. I wasn't accustomed to seeing so many black people, but I also wasn't prejudiced by the history of racism in the US either. So it was what it was. Not to say that racism didn't exist in Canada or doesn't today, but at the time I was barely 12, so I wasn't exposed to it the way others may have been. But I remember being asked in homeroom practically on day 1 if I was a redneck. Now, I had no idea what that meant, but I sensed I was going to have to be if I wanted to fit in, so I said I was. And I remember going into a Kmart store, do you remember those stores? And seeing this poster. On it was this grizzled old soldier in a gray uniform proudly hoisting a tattered Confederate flag, and the caption underneath exclaiming, "Save your Confederate money, boys, the South gonna rise again." At the time, from that place of naivety, I just remember thinking it was a cool poster, not understanding its meaning. I saw the Confederate flags for sale too, and I had first seen it on the top of the hood of that classic 1969 Dodge Charger in the show The Dukes of Hazzard. I thought it was cool, the car and the flag. And that's how insidious in some ways that racism, or at least white supremacy, presents itself, isn't it? I mean, there was a primetime, popular TV show about these good old boys from Hazard County, Georgia, Bo and Luke Duke. You couldn't get any more all-American than those two if you planted a fresh baked apple pie on it as a hood ornament on the General Lee. Speaking of which, again, this subconscious perpetuation that General Robert E. Lee was a hero of the South. Anyway, I digress. These images, the flags and statues and culture of the South, all harkened back to a time when black people in America were slaves and reinforced that idealized time for white folks. But then I saw the darker underbelly of racism for the first time. A fight had broken out between a black boy and a white boy, and everyone encircled the two. I was sort of standing off to the side away from the circle observing. I'm a lover, not a fighter, and even back then that was true. And all the white kids were chanting. I listened, and it still haunts me to this day. The chant went, "Fight, fight, N-word and the white don't win, we all jump in." And I've thought about that so many times in the 40 plus.
America claims to be the land of freedom and equality, but let's be real, racism is still alive and well. And despite all the progress, all the hashtags, and all the speeches, black people in America are still disrespected, dehumanized, and discriminated against. Today, we are bringing down exactly why racism is still thriving in 2025, and why the disrespect towards black lives is not just a mistake, it is by design. Watch and pay attention, and I will share my thought later.
Years since, I was too afraid to object at the time, too scared to stand up. But imagine being in that black boy's shoes, a boy of maybe 12 or 13, oppressed his whole life, undoubtedly in poverty, and realizing that if you don't win the fight, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you anyway. It had to be demoralizing, knowing you were done for either way. And I watched from my seat on the school bus many mornings on the ride to school as white boys hurled slurs and threw rocks at and otherwise picked fights with black kids. Flash forward a decade and a half, and I'm heading to Atlanta for a work conference. I'm at one of those highway travel plazas with fast food, and I'm in line at an Arby's to get something to eat. In front of me is a black gentleman. It's his turn to order, and he steps up to the counter. The white female cashier deliberately leans to the side, makes eye contact with me, and says, "Can I help you, sir?" in the politest voice possible. I was dumbfounded, and I paused for a moment before saying back, I think this gentleman was ahead of me. And I point to the black man. Well, she looks shocked, turns her gaze to him, sneers, and says, "What'll you have?" in just that kind of tone. He orders, pays, and waits. When she brings out his food, she basically hurls it onto his tray and dismisses him. As he turns, he made eye contact with me and he whispers a "thank you." And folks, some of you might be saying, well, that was 30, 40 years ago. Things are way different now. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. Certainly not in the South. But white folks have learned to hide their racism better, depending on the company they're in anyway. It hasn't gone away, it's just gone underground. They still talk about it over a cold beer or a hot meal. But that hate and anger towards black folks it's simmering just underneath the surface and ready to boil over. See this whole America First rhetoric? The ICE raids? It isn't really about American protectionism. It's not about patriotism. Not really. It's just become the outlet for that hatred of anyone who's not white. It's always been acceptable to be patriotic, though, even if it's no longer acceptable to be outwardly racist. I'll bet the chants no longer happen, and you don't see that Confederate flag flying around nearly as much, but they can wave American flags and exclaim their pride for God and country without seeming racist. They'll tell you they have black friends, that they're not racists, that they just love America and want to protect it. But see it for what it is. Racism, pure and simple. It's why too many disenfranchised people in America voted for Trump. He's openly racist and they wish they could be too. They want that old America back. They're saving their Confederate money in preparation for the South rising again. And they're prepared to start a civil war if needs be. Let's hope if they do, it ends the same way it did last time. But don't fool yourself into believing that eventually those old attitudes will change. They continue to pass it down generation to generation like a valuable family treasure. Talk about it over the dinner table, over fried chicken and hominy grits and biscuits with white gravy, meals they abdicated from those black slaves many years ago. The glory days when America wasn't so woke and people weren't so sensitive, telling their children and grandchildren to bide their time. Peace out, and if you're not already following me.
Dear white people, this one is for you. I might have to run in about a minute or two to go fetch my food, but before I do that, I just want to cover some things. Can I just say, we would not be in your countries or on your continent if you decided not to come to our continent, Africa, and forcefully remove our people, our forefathers, to come and build your cities, raise your kids, live on your plantations, and make you money. So, why am I getting into this? So I'm currently in Florence, Italy, and for the past, let's say last 2 weeks, I've just been dealing with so much racism, silent racism, and people think we don't know. So starting off with a lecturer at my university, the ignorance of her when she found out I'm from South Africa, still asking me, is there apartheid? Because her friend is currently in South Africa and he is in segregation. So please tell me where in South Africa, number one, I will wait. Because where I live, Johannesburg, where I'm the other part of my life, Cape Town or the Eastern Cape, I don't know who's being segregated and who is being dealing with apartheid. Number two, why am I in Europe? Let me think. I had to come here to come study about native Italian flora that, you know what I've picked up in every single place we went to has South African flora. So how am I doing my qualification outside of South Africa? Oh, because you guys came to our country and stole all our minerals and our plants and our herbs and also a few of our people while we were at it, and brought them here to work your fields, teach you guys about technology, about being civil, Let's start there. So yeah, this is why we're here. And you know what's the worst? I actually saw a TikTok about a woman talking about how racist Italians are. And I was like, you know what? Yes, there's like racist people everywhere, but it can't be that big chunk. Guys, my host told me directly that if she's like, firstly, she asked me, how have I been treated in Italy since I've been here? So I was like, fine, I've been here before. Like, I know my way around. I don't bother people. Then she's like, how are they treating you? And it took me a minute. And guys, sometimes I'm very delusional and I don't care about certain things. But I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh, because Italians. This a whole woman who I'm living with, my entire host, told me how stuck up Italians are and how racist they are. So then I asked her, are you? Because we're going to have this conversation, right? If you're going to bring it up, we're going to have it. Then she's like, no, but you pay. And immediately it struck me. So something my partner always says to me is, class beats racism. If you can pay your way, people will overlook the color of your skin. And I've noticed this at the college I'm at. I've noticed this where I live. I've noticed this where I go eat. And I've also noticed how different I'm treated when I go with my UK friend, my British friend, and my friend from the States, and when I go by myself. Also, just bearing in mind, I am the first South African at my college of color, because the fact that I still get asked about my hair, about my accent, about where I am in South Africa, all these things, please explain to me, how did we not evolve? Oh, they didn't. Because you know why? 2 of the lecturers told me that Europeans, Italians in particular, live in their own bubble and they don't bother with other people and they're ignorant. And I couldn't agree with her more. And after she realized what she said to me, she went back. It was about a week. And she came back to me and she's like, I need to apologize to you. I think I offended you. I was like, no. You just showed who you are. But you did say you're ignorant. So here we are having this conversation. You knew you were going to say something ignorant before you opened your mouth. You should have just kept quiet. But no, your ignorance superseded your arrogance and your racism. And here we are now having a conversation that makes you uncomfortable, because you know what? I have learned to deal with people like you. And then you ask me, but Rebane, then why do you keep going to Europe? Number one, besides me hating winter, and it's currently very cold in South Africa, I like heat. And I'm also an intellect. So I go to places where I can get unique and different forms of education. And Europe, unfortunately, Italy is one of those places where I can come and study my herbology and alchemy to my heart's content and move on. Secondly, being in such a racist country also gives me safety and freedom, because one, you're not going to talk to me and you're not going to approach me because why? I'm a person of color. So, excuse me. Woo. So you are not going to approach me. So I have a level of freedom and silence that I require that I do not have when I'm in South Africa, when I'm in the US, and definitely when I'm in my parents' house. So yes, I do choose some form of silence, but I do slightly have to pay with the racism that goes on around me. But I am not oblivious to it. I know what it is, and I've just learned how to deal with it, because I was in the States for over 5 years. That is another place. So dealing with these ignorant Europeans that was once peasants and literally built their cities and their churches off the backs of black people, you know what? It's okay, because I know who I am. The issue is you don't know who you are until you've come to the point where you are comfortable with saying that you're a racist, like my host did, and then realize what she said. I'm not saying anything. But you know what I almost got to do? I will be in Europe and I will eat a chicken vindaloo from the Indian shop down the road, because you know why? I am used to spice. I'm not going to eat your carbs, because another thing you guys only have is carbs. I come from a country where we have spice and we have flavor and we are just dripping in gold. You guys are pale, no flavor, and absolutely no seasoning. So I do hope this reaches the right amount of people, so you do understand my level of frustration. But the truth of, your desperation, greed, and resource envy just supersedes every disconnect you have to spirituality and culture. So once you can tell me what your culture and who you really are, leave me alone. And I will definitely walk in your streets. Because you know why? I can. And I will.
You are a Black content creator here on this app, and you start your videos with, "Dear white people, we don't want your advice." Okay? We don't want your advice. When you start a video like that, you immediately are putting all of us on the defense, because just like you can't help the color of your skin, we can't help the color of our skin. Some of the content creators that I have seen lately on this app, you guys are obsessed with us. You're obsessed. We're not spending our days thinking about you or how we can make offensive videos towards you. Dear Black people, dear Black women, or advice for Black women. I'm not going to give you advice. I don't have any of your lived experiences, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. If I ever came onto this app and I said, "Dear Black women, I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you this," you would immediately be put on the defense so fast. You'd be pissed, because you're like, I'm not going to listen to this white woman give me advice on like my hairstyle, how I dress, how I talk, where I live, what I do. I saw a woman on this app yesterday, and the comments they're not disappointing, because you have other Black women in there, Black men, that are all coming at this lady because she started her video that way. It's like, I don't need your advice. Why are you so obsessed? Why are you so obsessed with us and what we're doing?
Well, the reason that it is because it's always been popular, as far as I know, in my lifetime, for Black people to pick at white people. Because Black people for a long time have considered themselves a victim. And so now they're taking this opportunity to get 3, 4, 5, 600 years of reparations back from white people, which is so dumb. It's so stupid, because no person that I know that is alive today has ever experienced any kind of slavery, racism, and all of that stuff. And so now what's happening right now is called culture gatekeeping. And what culture gatekeeping is trying to control the narrative of how other people receive you based off of what you think is your culture. So, for example, there's a lot of Black women that are wrong as far as understanding where cornrows came from. But right now it is super popular for Black people to have braids and cornrows. So if they see a white person have it, then they're going to start off their video and say, "Dear white people." And then they're going to go into how it is that you're culturally inappropriate for appropriating their cornrows, right? And I'll also tell you this. There is a lot of Black people that take their talking points from popular culture, which is often wrong. And so they're loud and wrong at the same time. Now, I will tell you, and I know this goes without saying, but we got to have this conversation in its entirety, that nobody is a monolith. No white person, no Black person is a monolith. So if I ever run into a white racist woman, I can't just apply that to you and to every other white person and then get mad at all white people.
Dear white people, y'all are your ancestors. Y'all really live by the guilty until proven innocent. This young man was defending himself, but y'all automatically just said he was guilty. He had $1 million bond over his head, and the judge felt need to let him free. I did a video last night before I went to bed, And do you know how many comments I had to delete? Or the ones that stayed in the other file of y'all saying that he was wrong? Y'all don't care if he was wrong or he was right. Y'all care that he was black and the other one was white. Y'all are your ancestors. And don't worry, because we are our ancestors. Fuck around and find out. Have a good day.
So I'm riding, just minding my business, and a white man pulls up on the side of me at the corner. Now, this has never happened to me before, so I was quite shocked. So he decides to roll his window down and holler out the window, "Nigger." I was appalled. Like, I know in this climate with this new administration that it's really popular to be as racist as you guys was when we were unable to sit at the counter with you. But you guys have got to stop. Y'all gotta stop. Like, for real. This administration has made y'all feel real safe out here doing the things that you're doing. But what if I was a YN? It would have blew your head off. Like, y'all gotta stop. Like, this is not cool. Completely uncool. We bleed the same way you bleed. Y'all gotta stop with the hate and the racism. It ain't cute. Just
Start with the truth they do not teach in school. America was founded on racism. From the genocide to the enslavement of Africans, racism was not a glitch in the system, it was the system. White wealth was built on stolen labor. Laws were written to protect white supremacy. And every institution, from education to law enforcement, was designed to keep black people at the bottom. Racism did not disappear, it just got rebranded. They stopped saying the N-word in public, but they still deny black people jobs, housing, education, and justice. Modern racism hides behind colorblind policies, code words like urban or thug, unequal school funding, police brutality with no accountability. It is not just burning crosses, it is zoning laws, biased judges, and news coverage that makes black victims into villains. Why are black people disrespected? Because this system needs to keep black people small in order to keep white comfort intact. Black strength is seen as a threat. Black culture is copied but not credited. Black pain is ignored or mocked. From the workplace to entertainment, black people are expected to shrink themselves to make others feel safe. And then we speak up, we are labeled angry, aggressive, or dangerous. Let's look at the numbers. Black families hold 1/10 the wealth of white families. Black people are 5 times more likely to be stopped or killed by police. Black students are punished more harshly in school for the same behavior. This is not about individual attitudes. This is about a system that is working exactly as it was built. Nobody is born racist. It is taught, reinforced, and rewarded, especially in white America.